I think I'm in love, say it way too often. I can't play these games, think I'm switching up the offense. See me in LA, I'll be moving cautious. I can feel no pain, rolling up, I'm so exhausted. I'll be so exhausted.
This year, I finally got to riding every single ride at Cedar Point. Every ride there is really unique, some very unique. Yeah, some of the coasters there are kinda whack, but some... So I decided to only do a top 10 because I'm not giving freaking Cedar Creek Mine Ride more than 1 second in my video. But here's a quick list of rides that didn't make the cut. Also, yes, this list includes Wicked Twister. Number 17, Wilderness Run. Way too intense. Number 16, Woodstock Express. Too much airtime made my thighs hurt. Number 15, Cedar Creek Mine Ride. Literal garbage. Number 14, Corkscrew. Honestly, not as bad as people say, but it still is kind of trash. Number 13, Rougarou. Horrible, oh my gosh, it needs to go. 12, Iron Dragon. Kind of cool, a little bit boring though. 11, Blue Streak. Some rides I can get on it are really good and have airtime. Some I don't even get floater on it though, I don't even know. And now on to the real list, aka the good rides. Number 10, Wicked Twister. First off, rip. Second off, I think this ride is pretty fun. It's one of those rides where even if it is at your own park, you ride it like once a year. I mean, it's really repetitive, just look at it. I will give it this though, the first launch does really have a kick. The ride, in my opinion, isn't that rough. It has a little rattle, but I don't really care about it. It's not noticeable. And I feel like a lot of people see this as a skip out attraction. And I mean, they're not necessarily wrong, but if you're in the area, I'd say try it next time you go. Hold up. Number 9, Raptor. Sit down, young children, and let me tell you the story of my love-hate relationship with Raptor. My first ride ever, I loved this ride. I got stapled really bad, but since I was like really nervous to ride it, I wanted to feel secure, so it was fine. But then on my next ride, I realized that on this ride, I either had way too much or way too little room, because that's how Raptor's restraints work. Now, I noticed this as the ride up was checking my restraint, and I asked him if he could tighten it. He said I'd be fine. So yeah, I got thrown around the entire ride. During the vertical loop, I wasn't even touching the back of my seat. All the pressure was on my stomach, pushing up against the restraint. I've probably ridden it 10 more times, and almost every single time, the ride-ups don't make the restraints tighter, so I just get thrown around the whole ride, and gosh, does it hurt. But yeah, the layout of this ride is good. I love the corkscrews. If only the restraint didn't always take it away. Number 8, Valraven. First off, this ride is 90 times better in the front seat, but in all other seats on this ride, it's kind of stupid. The holding brake is honestly kind of disappointing. I always try to have fun on it, but like, it just doesn't give that, oh, I'm about to fall out feeling, because the restraints are so tight and secure. But the drop after the mid-course is really nice, and that 0G feels like you're going through slow motion, dodging bullets in the Matrix. The view on this ride is pretty sweet though. Look to the left once you're at the top, and it is so beautiful. Also, why the heck do we keep clowning on Steve's lift hill? This one is way louder. This ride is kind of complicated. It's what you do on the ride that determines how much fun you have. This ride does have a magic seat though, and if you want to ride in the magic seat, trust me, you have a much more fun ride filled with airtime. The magic seats are 11 on the red train and 9 on the blue train. Save that. If you haven't ridden this ride before, I will say, it doesn't have that airtime where you're getting thrown out of your seat, ejector. It just has a load of airtime that you can feel in your stomach. The kind so strong, it makes it hard to breathe. You have to ride it to see what I mean. Also, I have so many stories about Gemini. Too many to even do a 10-minute video on. A couple of them being when somebody shouted something hilariously inappropriate to my friend, and he shouts back, "Sir, I got you into the ride, buddy!" Or the time where I gave somebody $1 on the lift hill. Yo, I come bearing gifts! I have gifts! Take my money! Hey, you guys in the back! Pass this down! Pass it down! Also, you can't talk about Gemini without mentioning that freaking awesome head chopper. Number 6, Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper is kinda bad, but it is also kinda fun because I feel like a big bird. This ride, like Gemini, is just fun. I will say though, those keyholes are really overrated. It's cool going through them, but I wouldn't even consider it a head chopper. The second half though is absolute trash, horrible, not fun. The vest restraints on this ride don't even bother me. I will say they do hurt on the brake run though. The airtime on this ride is non-existent. The hang time on this ride is half decent. The fun factor of this ride is solid. The 0G rolls on this ride have to be the most fun part of the ride. They do have a little bit of snap, but that's not the only thing snapping on this ride. Number 5, Top Thrill Dragster. Big fast. I feel like a big car. I've only ridden Top Thrill once, but when I did ride it, I was the first one to scream for some reason. Yeah, this ride is one of the most boring rides to talk about though, but most fun to ride. What is there to say about this ride? I like the part where it goes fast and then goes up and down. So instead of talking about this ride, I will now tell a joke. I didn't believe that my dad was stealing a sign. I'm a failure. I didn't believe that my dad was stealing from his job as a traffic cop, but when I got home, all the signs were there. Number 4, Magnum XL 200. Star Wars, except roller coaster that really has nothing to do with Star Wars. Okay, I'll stop with that joke. I really love this ride. Yes, it's rough. It shakes you around a lot, but I don't know if it's because I'm 5'4" or because I'm the strongest man in the world, but this ride does not hurt. It shakes you around, but I've ridden this ride a lot, and there hasn't been one time where I've actually been in pain on the ride, especially in the front rows. The front rows I wouldn't even call shaky. My favorite row on this ride, though, is row 16. It's rougher than the front rows, but I really could care less. The airtime in this row is unmatched. You might have different thoughts on this row, and I understand that because this ride is really freaking weird. But I will say, if you don't mind some roughness, maybe try the sweet 16th row of Magnum. Number 3, Maverick. Oh my gosh, generic coaster YouTuber doesn't have Maverick at number 2? Okay, for real this time, I'll stop with the quotes thing. Yeah, I don't have Magnum at number 2. And I will have to say, this definitely is a first half kind of ride. Counting launch, of course. But man, that first half has to be the best sequence on any coaster I've ever been on. Boom, first drop that probably isn't legal. Next, some amazing snappy turns right into an airtime mode with the best airtime I've ever experienced. The 4th and 5th elements are just surreal twisted horseshoe rolls. And finally, you go into the launch that go vroom. A lot of people complain about the restraints on this ride, but I really do like these restraints. I never touch the vest part of the restraints, and I always feel the lap bar only, which I see as a win. The second half of this ride, though, is more weak. The second stangle dive kind of hurts. It's really fun, but I don't know, just a bit too snappy for me. Number 2, Millennium Force. Okay, before you start screaming at me that this ride is forceless, let me explain why I love it. This ride has to have one of the best night rides in the game, and if you get a Halloween's night ride, you're in for a treat, no pun intended. There are haunts all around this ride, and with haunts comes heavy fog machines, which cover the track. So if you ride this on Halloween's during night, during the whole ride, you're in thick fog, and it's freaking awesome. During the first drop is my favorite part of the whole ride. Diving 300 feet into just an abyss of fog is so cool. And speaking of night rides on this thing, during my first night ride, I was recording my audio reaction with my watch. And when I saw Lake Erie for the first time, it was a black, endless void. It was awesome. This was my reaction. Keep in mind, this was my first time seeing the awesome fog underneath the drop that we were about to dive into, and to see pitch black Lake Erie.
Whoa! Oh my gosh!
But enough about this ride at night. No matter what time of day I ride this ride, I always have a blast. And I'm always a little anxious every time I pull down the lap bar, which always make the ride even more fun.
And now we've come to number 1, and of course, it's
Steel Vengeance.
Steel Vengeance. Number 1, Steel Vengeance.
Number 1, Steel Vengeance.
Number 1, Steel Vengeance.
Steel Vengeance.
Number 1, Steel Vengeance. Yeah, I know like everybody thinks this ride is number 1, but that doesn't mean I can't think that as well. Also, people like this ride for good reason. Probably because this ride is fun. Yeah, but it also tries to kill you. This ride's airtime is awesome. Yes, it has quantity airtime more than quality, but this ride does have a lot of quality moments. I mean, just watch. Look at this. Wow, so much airtime. Oh my wow. That is so wow. What am I doing with my life? Seriously though, first drop the brakes, this ride does not play. This machine is freaking awesome. But the best part of this ride has to be the Outer Bank. I know this thing gets a lot of the hype, but let me tell you, it deserves it. It feels like it is trying to throw your soul out of your body. And honestly, I'm not convinced it didn't, because I haven't felt a slither of life since the last time I was on that. But anyways, that wraps up my Cedar Point rankings. If you like this video,
like and subscribe